Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Once again, we are joined by Caitlin McConnell, the writer behind Ozarks Alive. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
So if you're not familiar with Ozarks Alive, it's a blog online. Caitlin writes about the Ozarks, buildings, people, communities, tradition, keeping the history of the Ozarks alive. So today we're talking about her latest blog, and this one is about Decoration Day. Perfect timing with Memorial Day coming up. Tell me about Decoration Day. Why did you decide to write about this in the first place?
Well, Decoration Day is something, I've always heard of. I'm from the Ozarks, and it's something that people refer to occasionally. It's not as well known as it was in the past. But for those who don't know about it, Decoration Day was kind of a precursor to what Memorial Day is today. It's really just gradually morphed into it. Although in the beginning, Decoration Day was a distinct holiday of its own. So, I'd heard about this. I'd always kind of wanted to do a story. It'd been on my list for a while. And then a contact I have down in Gainesville actually recommended a lady to me who would be really good to speak with, Mrs. Walker, who lives in Ava now. And she is in her 90s and has really clear memories of what it was like celebrating Decoration Day in rural Ozark County back even in the 1930s. And I thought, well, what a perfect opportunity to talk to her and find out some more information about what she remembered for the story.
So what was that like talking to Mrs. Walker? As I was reading, you were telling me she even had her own writings from back then that she was writing about in detail about what happened. Tell me about just talking to her and hearing directly from her what things were like.
I think it's fascinating when we talk to people who have experiences from the past, especially when they remember things vividly. It's almost like you get to see it through their eyes, and things you might read in a book, it's like amazing, this person actually saw this firsthand. And so it was really great getting to talk to her and hearing about traditions, things that she remembered, the fact that for these events, people would show up any way they could down this gravel road, and they would come, and they would maybe be the only time they saw these family members or friends for the whole year. And things that I've read about in books, but hearing it from her, from being able to have talked to her and her having seen it firsthand is just really impressive.
You wrote about how she told you how everybody was dressed up. You would have new shoes, new dress, and everything had to be super clean for the day of and the celebration. They had food. People would bring food and maybe some singing. Give me some more details about that. What did she tell you about that?
I think the sense I get from her and from other things I've read too about Decoration Day is it was just a big reunion. And I don't want to use the word party because it was respectful. It was about honoring people who weren't around anymore. But it was a time that you just knew you were going to see these people who you were friends with and related to. And so for the sense I get, these celebrations varied a little bit throughout the Ozarks. A lot of, not all communities celebrated Decoration Day, so everybody had a little bit of their own flavor of it. But it generally involved food. So you could count on that, people bringing potluck-style food for people to eat. You had, if there was a church involved, probably some kind of a sermon or a event like that. And then really a lot of visiting, just being able to catch up. And can you imagine, today we have phones in our pockets and ways to communicate all the time. But for these folks, you literally had a whole year worth of information to catch up on.
How does she feel about Memorial Day today, and how does she maybe compare it to what it used to be to what she sees now?
Well, I think that she didn't give a super strong comparison, compare and contrast to what's different, but because I think especially at Souter, they still celebrate Decoration Day. That hasn't fundamentally changed. The people involved and some of the elements of it have, but they still recognize it just as they did when she was a kid.
And it's on May 30th. That's every year on May 30th.
Technically, that's when Decoration Day was. I think that they've adapted their tradition a little bit over time just to kind of make it easier for people. But in the beginning, yes, May 30th was always when Decoration Day was. And I think, that's part of the reason Memorial Day evolved so that people would have a 3-day weekend. But back in the past, regardless of the day, it was on May 30th. You have been writing about different topics for a while now. Why do you think it's important? The first time you were here, I maybe asked you the same thing, but as young people, here we are learning about Decoration Day and things that happened in 1930s. Just earlier, a few minutes ago, off camera, you were telling me, I think it's important we talk to older people in our own families to learn from them. Why do you think that is? I think people have a tendency not to appreciate things while we have them. You think back later and think, oh, I wish I would have asked this question or learned, about whatever topic. And so for me, being able to talk to people who remember things firsthand, even if the top level information, is priceless, because right now we have the opportunity to ask and find out more and probe a little deeper in some areas that in the future we may not be able to. And so, like we were talking about too, I would encourage anyone with family members still alive, even if they claim to not know anything or remember anything. Everybody generally claims to not remember anything about the past. Just get them talking, and the details that come out, even about routine daily life, will be very fascinating and potentially really important in the future.
And as always, you're always looking for ideas. So if anyone has a great idea, they can just get in touch with you.
That's right. Yes, ozarkslive.com. My contact information is on there, and I'm also on Facebook. So if that's easier for people, they can send a message to the page.
All right, Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you are interested, check out ozarksalive.com for the Decoration Day blog we have been talking about and other entries as well. We'll be right back right here on Ozarks Fox.